Ever get that feel? You know that feeling, like your creative gears are kind of jammed.
Yeah, like you're stuck in a rut.
Exactly. Hitting replay on the same old ideas. We've all been there. And today we're diving into this world of Eurorack synthesizers with sound designer Tony DeCaro, seeing how he busted out of his creative comfort zone.
And his story, it goes way beyond just music.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's about knowing when your tools are actually holding you back.
You hit the nail on the head. And to dig into this, we're jumping into issue 75 of Racked magazine, where Tony really opens up about this whole journey.
Cool.
So picture this. It's the 90s. He's got that classic home studio setup.
Right. Like a lot of people starting out back then.
Many of our listeners probably started out similarly, right? Taping stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But when Tony transitions to digital recording, he bumps into something a lot of us can relate to. That feeling of things being a little too perfect.
Too sterile.
Yeah, a little too sterile.
It's the double-edged sword, right,
Cool.
of digital. You get the precision.
Right.
But sometimes you lose that rawness.
You lose that magic, that unpredictable
The magic, yeah.
magic that happens with analog gear.
Exactly.
And that's where Eurorack explodes onto the scene for Tony. He talks about seeing a Dope for A100 system for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And being completely blown away by how it looked. He even compares it to some kind of intricate laboratory device.
Interesting.
Imagine a visual representation of sonic possibilities just staring you right in the face.
Sometimes all you need is that one thing.
Right,
that
yeah.
spark that totally changes your perspective.
Throws open a door you didn't even know was there.
Exactly.
Totally. But we'd be remiss not to mention the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the wreck in the rack.
Ah, yes, the Eurorack.
The infamous Eurorack rack.
Rack.
Tony's upfront about it being, well, a significant financial commitment.
Yeah.
Eurorack's not known for being cheap.
Yeah.
And let's be real, lots of hobbies, especially the ones that really grab us.
Oh, yeah. They can get expensive.
Makes you think, when does a passion cross that line, right?
Ooh, good point.
Into something that's financially
Yeah.
unsustainable. It's a question worth considering.
It's a balancing act, for
Right.
sure. But for Tony, this was clearly about something deeper, right? Something more profound than just buying new gear.
Definitely.
He talks about Eurorack as buying back his creativity.
Oh, I love that.
And you can't put a price tag on that.
You can't put a price on that.
Now, at first glance, Eurorack can be a little intimidating, right? You've got all these wires and modules and knobs.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to take in. And Tony doesn't shy away from that feeling at all. He even talks about being initially overwhelmed, particularly that fear, of messing something up,
Well, yeah.
causing shorts, all of that.
Understandably. I mean,
Right.
these aren't your everyday gadgets.
Not at all. Not at all.
Right.
But Tony stresses two things. First, RTFM.
Always.
Read the freaking manual.
Yes.
Solid advice. Solid advice in any context, really. Absolutely.
And second, he emphasizes the incredible amount of information that's available online.
Right.
He even gives shout-outs to YouTube channels like Raul's World of Synths and DivKid.
Oh, cool. I'll have to check those out.
It reminds us that we're living in an age where learning something new is often just a click away.
Totally. And here's a reassuring thought. Even the pros make mistakes.
Oh, all the time.
Tony, he recounts this anecdote about a dupe for VCA. He accidentally, get this, smoked to death.
Oh, no.
It happened.
It happens. That's a good reminder that those setbacks, those little mishaps or big mishaps, they're all part of the process.
Absolutely. You learn as much, if not more, from your mistakes.
Totally. Speaking of setbacks, Tony's biggest hurdle. This one will likely resonate with a lot of you.
Okay.
Even if you're not musicians. Have you ever been working on a project?
Yeah.
And you just can't get all the pieces to fit together smoothly?
Ugh, the worst.
That's essentially what Tony faces. When he tries to synchronize the sequencers in his expanding Eurorack system,
Makes sense. Gets complicated.
it becomes a real headache.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is the reason behind this. See, there's no industry standard for how clock and reset signals are handled in Eurorack.
Oh, really?
It's a bit of a free-for-all.
Wow. So it's kind of just like up to chance.
And unfortunately, this is something you encounter in the tech world all the time.
Right.
Different companies, different approaches. And you, the user, you're left trying to bridge the gap.
Yep. Left holding the bag.
It can be frustrating.
For sure.
So what does Tony do? He has to make some hard decisions.
Decisions.
Mhm.
Decisions. Which brings us to a powerful lesson.
Okay.
That extends way beyond synthesizers.
All right.
Sometimes you got to let go of things
Ooh.
that aren't serving you,
Okay.
even if you're emotionally attached to them.
Yeah.
It's true for relationships,
Right.
career choices,
Yeah.
even for synthesizers.
It's like Marie Kondo for your creative life, right?
Exactly.
If it doesn't spark joy,
Yeah,
maybe it's time to say goodbye.
exactly.
Ah.
So let's say you're intrigued by this whole Eurorack thing,
Right.
but you're not ready to start dismantling beloved gear just yet.
Right.
Tony has some great advice for beginners.
Okay, good.
He actually recommends starting with something a little less daunting.
Okay.
A semi-modular synth,
Okay. Yeah.
like the Moog Mother 32
Right.
or the Behringer Neutron.
Yep.
It's a good way to dip your toes into the modular world
Right.
without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah. It's like learning your scales
Right,
before you try to improvise a jazz solo.
precisely. Now, if you're feeling really adventurous, Tony highly recommends checking out the Afterlater Audio Benjalin V2.
The Benjalin. Okay.
He describes it as a sonic playground,
Cool.
capable of generating some seriously wild sounds.
And sometimes that's just what you need.
Sometimes.
Right. A little dose of sonic chaos
Exactly.
to shake things up.
Exactly. But whether you start simple or dive straight into the deep end, the important thing, as Tony emphasizes, is to find your own creative entry point.
Yes. Love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get bogged down with endless options, right?
Right.
Paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong choice.
Right.
Don't let that stop you. Find something that calls to you
I love that.
and just start experimenting.
You might be surprised at what you discover along the way.
Totally.
Now, speaking of discoveries, Tony's Eurorack journey has led him to amass not one, but count 'em, T2O,
Whoa.
entire cases filled with modules.
That's dedication.
He's affectionately named them My Monster and Little Monster.
I love it.
I challenge you not to smile at that.
That's fantastic.
It's clear that he's poured his heart and soul into building these systems.
Yeah.
And among his favorites, the VPME quad drum voice, the Afterlater Audio Benjalin V2, no surprise there,
Right.
and the Winter Modular Plankton Electronics Zaps. Now, for those of you new to the world of Eurorack, those names might sound like something out of a science fiction novel,
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
but that's part of the beauty.
Right.
Think of it like this. You've got the VPME laying down these punchy, dynamic drum beats,
Okay.
the Benjalin swirling around, adding its unique brand of chaotic magic.
Nice.
And then the Zaps come in with these incredible textures and modulation capabilities.
Yeah.
It's like having an entire orchestra of sound at your fingertips,
Cool.
and you get to be the composer.
That's amazing.
So we've got all these incredible modules,
Right.
but how does Tony actually wrangle them into making music?
Yeah, good question.
He breaks it down, starting with a deceptively simple but super effective technique,
Okay.
a classic 44 kick drum
Right.
running through a Moleco voltage block,
Okay.
which then animates the parameters of his other modules.
So it's kind of like kick drum is the heartbeat,
Yes. I love that analogy.
the steady pulse. And the voltage block is like the nervous system,
Yes.
sending out signals.
It's such an elegant way to approach sound design,
Yeah.
starting with a core element
Right.
and then using modulation to introduce variations in movement.
And it's a technique you can apply to so many creative pursuits.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Think about writing. You start with an outline,
Right,
a framework,
right.
and then layer in details, dialogue, description.
You're sparking so many ideas for me right now.
It's the same principle.
But of course, Tony, being Tony,
Right.
he doesn't stop at just the basics.
Of course not.
He likes to add a little something extra, a little
Yeah.
spice, as he calls it.
Okay.
And this is where things get really interesting.
This is where we venture deeper
Yes.
into the heart of Eurorack,
Yes.
where the possibilities, they become limitless.
He brings in modules like the Mutable Instruments Clouds, Quabit Electronics Data Bender, XAOC devices, Serato BB Delay,
Wow.
and the WMD TRS HMSTR. And yes, I know those names sound like they belong in a secret society of sonic sorcerers,
Just a CAD. Yeah.
but that's part of the fun.
Right.
Each of those modules brings something unique to the table,
Right.
a new flavor of sonic manipulation.
I like that.
Imagine taking a simple melody
Yeah.
and then running it through a hall of mirrors,
Oh, wow.
twisting it, warping it, adding layers of texture and depth.
Wow.
that's just a taste of what's possible when you start combining these modules.
Amazing.
It really highlights that spirit of experimentation.
Right.
That's so central to Eurorack, wouldn't you say? It's about pushing boundaries, breaking the rules.
Totally, yeah.
And seeing what happens.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is that Tony describes his approach to building his system as digital first.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He's particularly fond of the VPME QD sample player, using its voices for different elements.
Okay.
Which is a pretty savvy move, especially for those of us who aren't made of money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's about being resourceful, using the tools at your disposal
Yes.
to their full potential.
And this whole digital first approach.
Yeah.
Oh, this has relevance beyond music, don't you think?
Oh, totally.
Look at graphic design, filmmaking, writing.
Yeah.
So many creative fields where you can start with digital tools.
Absolutely.
To experiment, to find your voice.
It's about lowering that barrier to entry.
Yes. Yes.
Making creativity more accessible.
Yes. I love that. Now, the article does briefly mention the Scorp ramble, but
Let's not get sidetracked.
let's not get sidetracked. It's a rabbit hole for another day.
Agreed. Because what we ultimately care about
Yes.
is the music Tony creates
Yes.
with all of this gear.
Absolutely. And the best part is you can hear it for yourself. Tony was kind enough to share a link to his SoundCloud page.
Awesome.
So you can experience the fruits of his Eurorack journey firsthand.
I love it.
And I think it's worth pausing for a moment to appreciate how this one musician's exploration
Yeah.
of a very specific set of tools,
Right.
his willingness to just delve into the intricacies of Eurorack,
Right.
has resulted in the creation of something totally unique and expressive.
Totally. And we'll be sure to include that link in the show notes.
Absolutely. So you can check it out for yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But even beyond the music itself, what's the bigger takeaway here? This isn't just a story about synthesizers, is it?
Not at all. It's about recognizing when you're stuck,
Right.
when your creative energy is stagnant, and being open to new avenues,
Totally.
new tools, new approaches.
Yeah.
That you said earlier, sometimes you just need that one thing to shift your perspective,
Yeah.
to unlock a door you didn't even know existed.
Right.
And for Tony, that door led to the world of Eurorack.
And what's inspiring is he didn't just walk through that door, he dove head first.
He really did.
Embraced the challenge, the learning curve,
All of it.
even the occasional smoked module.
Yeah.
And it reignited his passion for creating, which begs the question, where are you feeling stuck? What's got your creative gears grinding to a halt?
Yeah, what is it?
Maybe it's time to explore a new tool,
Could be.
experiment with a different medium,
Yeah.
or even just look at your work from a fresh angle.
The important thing is to stay curious.
Yes.
Keep that spark of exploration alive.
I love that.
Tony found his in the intricate world of Eurorack. But yours could be something totally different.
Totally.
Maybe it's painting, coding, writing poetry.
Right. Baking sourdough bread.
There you go. The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
Don't be afraid to try something new.
Yes.
Even if it seems intimidating at first.
Right. You might just surprise yourself with what you discover.
Exactly. And isn't that what it's all about?
It really is.
That joy of discovery.
Yes.
The thrill of pushing beyond our comfort zones.
Yes.
The satisfaction of bringing something new into the world. That's what Tony's story reminds us of.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Huge thanks to Tony DeCaro for sharing his incredible Eurorack journey with Racked Magazine, and, in turn, with us.
Definitely.
Remember, you can find links to his music on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook,
All the places.
and, of course, his SoundCloud page in our show notes.
Be sure to give it a listen. It's a sonic adventure. You won't want to miss it.
And until next time, keep those creative gears turning.